Okay, so it's Graham from the Talk Motherwell FC podcast. I'm sorry we couldn't get one up this week. For whatever reason, the video file that's the same as the first episodes, it YouTube doesn't like the second video for whatever reason. I cannot get it to upload. I apologise. We recorded one, and I'm actually a bit sad because there was a great little bit where um I gave a little speech about the mismanagement of the club. And this season, in particular, everything's kind of came to a head. We've today been knocked out by Rafe Rovers. And I would have waited till the pre-St Mirren game podcast that me and Gary were going to do together, but I really wanted to get this off my chest, man. So Stevie Hammell has been sacked slash let go slash mutually agreed to resign his post as Motherwell manager. And from a results point of view, the results haven't been good enough for a long time. The performances haven't been good enough. But there's players there that haven't been putting a shift in for a long, long time. And some of the performances we've had from some experienced professionals have been so poor that while Hamill's ultimately paid the price and is gone from Motherwell for the first time in my lifetime, the man has been one of the most loyal servants to Motherwell Football Club as an institution. And is the final image that we got of Stevie Hammell's tenure was him in tears in the dugout, while both sets of fans are mockingly singing "You're getting sacked in the morning." I left at that point because we were 3-1 down, and I understand the anger, right? I think it's misplaced at Stevie Hammell. I'm more angry with the players on the park. I'm more angry at the board who, when they appointed Hammell, did not set him up for success. I'm a lover of the fact, one of the things that I love about Motherwell Football Club is that we give young managers a chance. And I don't want us to ever be one of those clubs that just appoints on the managerial merry-go-round in Scottish football. I like that we do things different. I like that we give an Ian Barraclough a go, or that we give a Stephen Robinson a chance, or that we bring in a Graham Alexander. Even if they don't always work out, right? I still love that. I love that we gave Stevie Hammell his first go. But when we do these things, we have to give these guys that are, especially it's their first task, man, right? We have to give them an experienced assistant. Instead, we gave Steven Hammell Brian Kerr. And I'm not questioning Brian Kerr as a coach, but there's better choices out there, right? Brian Kerr's managed Albion Rovers, and I occasionally, if Motherwell aren't playing, or if they're playing somewhere up north and I don't have the finances to be able to follow them up north that weekend, I'll sometimes go watch the Rovers. I remembered going to watch Rovers under Darren Young, and then Brian Kerr to go from Darren Young. And it was the same squad that was left to him, and the same squad did really well under Darren Young and were sort of fighting up the top end of League One and doing well in the Scottish Cup, for a team of that size. And Brian Kerr came in and just made a complete hash of it, right? That's so when I seen he was the assistant, I expected that we would go. I've always expected that we were going to have a bit we would struggle for form. I didn't think it would be this bad. But there's certain players that we have to acknowledge just aren't fit to wear the shirt. They're not fit to represent Motherwell Football Club. They don't deserve the privilege to represent Motherwell Football Club. And I say this, and I'll name some names. This is just my opinion as a football fan, and it should be treated as such. Stephen O'Donnell, top of that list. Every game we give him, he is a nightmare. How this man ever played for Scotland, the fact he has international caps, he has quite a few of them, he has a number of them, to me speaks for the sorry state of fullbacks in Scottish football at the time he was getting the caps. I mean, if nobody could play that side and Steve Clark thought he was the best option, then yikes. Liam Kelly. This is the controversial one, because there's a lot of our fan base love Liam Kelly. Watch the second goal that we conceded today. It is bare basics for a keeper to either catch that ball or punch it away. He only had to do one of those two things. Either one of them would have been correct. Instead, he goes up and kind of slaps at it with one hand, and the ref striker puts it in the back of the net and punishes Kelly for schoolboy errors. This isn't the only schoolboy error. If you go and watch the goal that St Mirren scored against us earlier at the end, was it the end of January? Yeah, the end of January. It looked to me as though Main connects with the ball, but it looks as though Kelly had done enough to stop it. But then he poked it underneath himself and put it in the back, over the line. He's making too many schoolboy errors through a lack of, I'm going to call it a lack of effort. And he's not the only one that's been giving a lack of effort. It's been obvious through the team. Ricky Lamy wasn't involved today, but is another one, switches off for silly parts of the game. And yet everyone kind of idolized him as a cult hero because he scored a win against Livingston last season. I said at the time when we extended his contract, I would have him nowhere near the first team. The fact that he has a spot in that first team under Hammell. Okay, there's guys Hammell could have picked over him, and Hamill's been too loyal to these guys. And these are just three of them. There's other ones. We've got a striker that thinks it's acceptable to apply himself for 20 minutes out of 90 every game. Our top goal scorer. Fantastic player, has lots of ability. Very, very lazy. Very lazy. A lot of what he does is he tends to point and blame everyone around him for everything. It's never him not being in a good position. It's always the ball's wrong or whatever. Because there's times where he's just not up to pace with it. There's times where he needs to be more alert and he just ain't. And what do you do with that? What do you do with that? Because do we drop our top goal scorer and hope one of the other strikers can pick up the slack a little bit? I'm kind of of the mentality that we are relegated. We are relegated in waiting. I think that's how bad this situation is. I hope whoever our next manager is, I hope they have the courage to bench enough of these players, not even bench them, I would send some of them to the reserves and tell them, you know what, if it was me that took over on Monday, some of these guys I would be telling them, right, some of these are going straight to training with the reserves, some of these are going straight to training with the kids, these are going to be cut off from all the first team activity, and you're going to be nowhere near the squad for the remainder of your days at this club. And as for the board, get it together. All this, we exist to improve people's lives talk. Right, let's talk about the operations of a football club, shall we? To field a professional first team that plays in its established division. So that's the basic function. We can all agree that that's the main responsibility a football club's responsible for, right? Okay, so we've established what a football club is there to do. You know what would really improve my life? You know what would really, really benefit me as a football fan who spends hundreds every year on new shirts, on match tickets, on programmes, on travel to follow this team up and down the country, on season cards, on everything. You know what would really improve my life? A team that goes out and fights every week to win. They don't need to win every week. I understand for a team like Motherwell, we're not going to win every week. I get it. I completely get that. I do not expect Motherwell to win the Scottish Premiership. I know it's not going to happen. I don't even mind that we're kind of down the bottom end of the table, right? I have seen Motherwell sides, I've followed Motherwell sides that have been in this position, that have had more fight about them, more character. And has had players that would kick some backsides in this team. Like I said, think of the 2016-2017 Motherwell side, that we almost got relegated. Steven Hammell had to come in and save us in the last 4 months of the season. I remember the team that finished in the playoff. I never thought I would say this. I miss that playoff team. I thought that was like the worst team I would ever experience at Fir Park. Because that team probably definitely could have gone down had we played anyone other than the Rangers side that we played that time. But instead we're now in this spot where we're only being saved from bottom because because Dundee United had a far worse start to their season. They've been picking up some points. We were points clear of them at one point. Now we're in the quagmire with them. As for who's the next Motherwell manager, I don't know. I just implore, I am begging the board, do not appoint David Clarkson, who you've just appointed as a youth coach. Do not employ Mark McGee. Go and actually do some due diligence, do some research, interview some people, ask some people their long-term plans, because at the moment, plan for us to go down. Interview somebody that could try and keep us up, but is ultimately going to be able to get us back to this division after we're in the Championship next year. That is what this club needs. We need an experienced head to guide us over the next year or two and get us back on our feet. And as I've said, and as I said in the lost episode, we'll call it, we need in the summer to tear up our whole footballing operations strategy, and we need to write a new one. That is what's needed for this club to get back on its feet, because at the moment, it's pathetic. It's horrendous. I am low-key angry with the people who sold us the pipe dream of the Well Society and that fans would have a say. I feel like the communication from the club over the last few months, we have had to find out things like our chief exec leaving for Aberdeen from other sources first. The communication around players being out injured and for how long has been very, very poor. It's something that we would have known of previously. It's something that we would have communicated. And there's been no reason why the communication shouldn't still be the way it was, even as little time as 3-4 years ago. We seem to have everything that made us unique, made us great, made me proud of our little club, seems to have just gone to the wayside. And I'm sad to see that. And Hammell being sacked because of systemic issues. A club legend, someone like Steven Hammell, who is as Motherwell as you're going to get. And the club have let him down. The fans that were saying you're getting sacked in the morning let him down. And the players that this club employ, the players that downed tools for Stevie Hammell, also downed tools for the fans, because I do not believe this talk of when players down tools for managers, they're unhappy with the manager. When the players down tools, when they're being paid at a professional football club, or even a semi-professional football club, or any football club that plays in front of fans, when they decide to down tools and that they're not going to try their hardest because they're upset, are actually downing tools for the fans who are paying to watch them. And if I'm contributing towards you being paid by my attendance at these games and the money I spend on merchandise for that club and season cards, I'm not paying that money specifically for Stephen O'Donnell. I'm paying that money for the football club that you're representing and you're playing for. You're supposed to be out there playing for me, as far as I'm concerned. Like, I'm contributing a little bit to your wage at this point. So have a bit of professional pride. You're a footballer. Your job is to play a sport for a living. Take some pride in it. And that would be my message to everyone running this club, because evidently, based on how things have gone so far, I would question whether they are acting with the football club's best interest at heart or progressing their own CV. Take some pride in the football club and the rest will follow.